Hi, this is Randy
Okay.
Kirk, and welcome to Small Business Daily. We have a special treat today. We're going to be talking about HR with an HR expert and somebody who helps companies when they have an HR issue. I'd like to introduce you today to Eileen Angulo, and she runs a company. Eileen, what's the name of your company?
HR Solutions and Services, LLC.
So that speaks exactly to what you do. And you were telling me
Yes.
that the fun part about your company is that you get a phone call and somebody's got a really big problem
Traditionally, yes. And they need some help.
and they need
That
help.
usually is the case.
So they've got
Yes.
somebody who
And
possibly has had it could be a sexual impropriety issue, or maybe it's just a minor
yep.
infraction, but they don't know what to do with it. I mean, what happens when you get those calls?
I think the first thing is to kind of let them know that these are common challenges that most employers experience, especially for business owners that kind of started up their own business and are just, you know, figuring out ways to be able to grow and thrive. They've done really well in whatever that business model is, but traditionally, the area of opportunity is when it comes to the human resources aspect of that, because we are in California, especially, and it's a fun place to be when you talk about employers operating their businesses and staying compliant with all of the rules and regulations for where we reside. So that's usually the case, and why they pick up the phone to get some help, just to be able to offload that, or get some support to be able to navigate through those interesting challenges that come up.
Yeah, we're really in a state where the you have to weigh the blessings and the not so blessings. I mean, we have the weather, we've got the beaches, we've got the universities, we've got the employees, top notch people, plenty of resources
Yes,
to reach out for. But when it comes to the rules of dealing with those employees, oh my gosh, it's
yeah,
so tedious.
that is a fact.
Yeah. So
They say if you can do business in California, you can do business anywhere.
anyway,
So we definitely make it a fun place to be.
at least in the US. I think some of the European countries are even worse. I know I with folks in Germany a lot, and in Germany, they will divide their companies into pieces because the rules apply only to, say, over 50 employees. So when they end up with 75 employees,
Oh yeah.
they'll start a new company and have 25 employees over here and 49 over here, so they don't fall under the more restrictive rules.
And that's interesting when you think about California. There's some of those kind of thresholds for employers as well. When you even now 5 employees is the threshold they've lowered it to, which opened it up to a lot of employers that didn't necessarily have to pay attention to some of these rules and regulations, and now they're in that situation where they need to um, get involved and make sure they're compliant.
Right. Yeah. And in fact, it would be really hard to
Mm-hmm.
take your 100 employee company and make 25 employee companies. That would be, or 25
Oh
four
yeah,
employee
no,
companies.
for sure. Oh,
Just
absolutely.
wouldn't work out that well.
Or to
Uh,
be able to justify why you did that. I mean, that's definitely would be a challenge for an employer. Yep,
so
that's funny.
Eileen, one of the things that occurred to me do you only work in California, or can you take clients who are in Illinois or New York or elsewhere?
I actually have some clients in New York and in Arizona, and it hasn't been a challenge for other locations because, like I said, traditionally our employment law is a lot more rigid.
Right.
So it's definitely kind of been a nice transition when I do have those opportunities.
So I know that when I started my manufacturing company years ago, I was probably at about 30 or 40 employees before I even put together a handbook. Is having or not having a handbook kind of a big deal today when you get these emergency calls?
Not having a handbook definitely is an impairment for those employers, just because it does make it easier to communicate up front to that individual what the expectations are. So your opportunity to be able to have that employee immediately understand and align with the overall vision and policies and practices of the organization is exponentially increased by having that in place up front. And it's definitely a recommendation that I make to all of my clients.
Yeah, and if I remember right, you are actually someone who can build that handbook for them. Is that right?
Yes, and a lot of times, it's interesting that you asked that, because a lot of my clients come to me after they've kind of brought on various HR platforms that do promote the opportunity to give them all of the tools to be able to manage HR. But what happens is, if you're a novice and don't really understand what you're working with, there is an element of customization that is required to make it meaningful. And so a lot of times they bring me on board in those instances to even improve those types of handbooks, just because it's not working for them or not as meaningful and giving them the results that they were hoping for.
Yeah, I think it's like going to a lawyer on a simple contract. It may seem simple on the surface, but when you start digging into it, there's that clause that could really mess you up. And certainly on handbooks, that's the case too, because once it's in
Definitely.
writing, it gotcha.
That's a fact.
Yeah. So then, so your most likely point of entry to a new client is somebody that's in trouble. They've got a problem within their workforce, and they've got to give somebody a call. How do they find you?
I have a website. It's hrsolutionservice.com, or also my direct line is 909-641-9003.
Okay, and so, but do you have any idea, just for fun, how people do find you, so to speak? So, I mean, is it normal?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, is it normal? It's okay. We needed that information anyway. But is it normal?
Right.
I mean, I certainly had plenty. When I had the larger company, I had HR problems,
Right.
Once a month. So it's kind of a normal thing. I
Yes.
don't know that I would have thought automatically to reach out to somebody like you. Do people call their CPA and they know you, or do they call their payroll services people and they know you? How do they literally find you?
It usually is word of mouth. To be very honest, I'm on all of the social media. I've also I'm in Yelp, Google. All of those different sources will be a potential, kind of pathway to connect. But traditionally, it's the word of mouth. My clients, or my network, are the best sources of connection to potential clients. It's just been wonderful. I really have been very blessed in that regard.
Yeah. Okay. So word of mouth is always the number one best method for getting found. So what do you typically end up as a part-time HR person? I mean, do you end up on retainer for years and years? Is that your preference, or do you just like to come in and fight the fire?
I have long-term clients that I am always their on retainer, just to make sure that they have that peace of mind. I always talk about that is, if you're concerned with, compliance or having potential future employee issues, a lot of those clients feel that way. But I do like the fires. I'm not going to lie. Those are definitely what makes what I do meaningful. I feel that my capabilities give my clients the ability to be able to focus on their business and not necessarily the people aspect of their business, because they have all of the infrastructure in place and the support that I give them in kind of the structure that we come up with. Yeah, I definitely love that part.
Okay. So yeah, most of the people that I've met in small business like their employees, actually, feel like their family, especially smaller companies, say under the 500 or under 250 employees. They mostly like their employees. It's just dealing with the messes is the part that's not so much fun.
You know what, and I think what's interesting, and it makes sense to me in those instances where it's a family environment, traditionally the owner is extremely hurt because they've done everything to give the employee what they believe, everything they need. And in those kind of small percentage of individuals that aren't necessarily feeling like they are, content, or in some cases discontent, in those instances, I think it's very, very disappointing to the business owners that happened, because they take it very personal. They are the person that is the advocate for the employee. So it's kind of interesting in those situations to kind of unpack that and put them in a place where they can kind of get in front of the issues and really engage the employees and feel like they're, able to not have employees that are going to come back and have some, disgruntled situations. So, it's always interesting and difficult at the same time.
Of course. Okay, Eileen. So if there was anything else that you wanted to say to my audience out there, made up of people from all over the United States who run their own businesses, is there any one trick, one tip, one thought that you'd like to leave them with today with regard to the HR side of things?
Yes, don't let the potential for individuals that are the small percentage of employees that potentially may not engage or do things correctly discourage you. I do in my heart of heart believe that every employee comes to work wanting to do good work. And sometimes it's just the gap of having the infrastructure in place and the right policies and procedures. And that's mainly what will sustain you and continue to make your workplace thrive.
That's interesting that you say that, because one of the things that we have found in our mastermind groups, as well as in my consulting practice, I even read a book years ago that really impacted me, and the name of the book was "Expectations Ruin Relationships." And so the idea there is, if everybody understands the other person's expectations, if people not only are clear about their expectations, let's say the employer is clear about their expectations of what they want the employee to do, and then they communicate it well. That could be the handbook and or other ways of communicating those expectations. And then the employee has their own obligation to be clear about their expectations of ownership and management, and then communicate those expectations. If everybody does a good job of communicating the expectations, then the relationships are bound to be better. And that most frequently, the relationships break down because somebody doesn't get what the other person's expectation is.
Yes, I 100% agree. And I think a lot of opportunities that are missed is employers reinforcing the right behaviors too, because a lot of times, changing the culture starts with that. What does that look like? What does that feel like? And so I do think that's definitely a good point you're making.
What are your thoughts so far about your experience at eTeam?
I think when a lot of entrepreneurs are trying to find the pathways to grow their business, a lot of times there's a reluctance to ask for help or to connect with individuals that are like-minded. I think my experience with the eTeam has been a family, and finding those like-minded individuals that are truly, genuinely behind the scenes trying to find opportunities for your business to thrive and grow, and vice versa. I think those are probably the most genuine and organic opportunities to be able to do good work and help each other promote their businesses and support their business growth. And to do that in a way that is just, just feeling like you have a family, or not just even colleagues, but individuals that have your best interest at heart. It's wonderful. And I can't say enough about it. It's been a wonderful experience.
And have you been successful in both giving leads and also receiving leads? Has that part of it? I think you've only been in for about 5 or 6 months?
Right.
And have
yes. It's been actually, I know there's usually a period of time that it takes to be able to get some momentum in any structure like our team. But in my situation, there are power partners that were quickly identifiable, and it has been a give and take situation. And there's been kind of, I think the next level is identifying better ways for a lot of our team members to elevate their services and the offering as a result of a lot of the collaborations that I've experienced, even outside of the referral, kind of feedback and exchange that's making us all stronger as a result of it.
Cool. That's really great. Yeah. And so very specifically though, you feel like the number of referrals that you're getting from other members has had a very high ROI for you in the short time you've been with the group.
Yeah, I think that it's important to talk about the coaching sessions as the foundation of that process, because you get to know your team and you get to know where their areas of opportunity are, and what a strong referral looks like, and what they're actually doing for their clients. And it really does make that process of referring them, or that desire to refer them, a lot better because of that foundation and that start. And then just the weekly interactions, whether it's just the conversation as we're together as a team, or a presentation that also brings to light what they do on a day-to-day or a service offering for their clients. But it definitely is helpful to be able to have that as a foundation and a structure.
So Eileen, I was really glad to have you on today. I learned a lot. I'm hoping that our listeners and watchers learned a lot also, and maybe some of them will have that emergency and need to give you a call.
That would be what I would hope. The call isn't prompted by an emergency, but certainly welcome the conversation and the opportunity to support them. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe the phone call will be, you know what? I need that employee manual. Let's get that done. That'd be a great preemptive strike.
Even better. You're right. Better. Thank you, everyone.
So this is Randy Kirk at Small Business Daily. See you next time.